Badr, Dawn of Islam, the impossible victory, opens by immediately establishing the core conflict not as a mere military clash, but as a profound human drama rooted in persecution and the search for divine justice. The first scene, set in a dark, cramped house in Mecca, is meticulously designed to evoke a visceral sense of the suffering endured by the early Muslim community. We are introduced to the Muhajirun, not as legendary heroes, but as ordinary, broken people. Their faces gaunt, their clothes worn, their spirits weighed down by relentless oppression. The specific brutal anecdotes, like Abu Jahl pouring out their water, or the description of Bilal's scarred back, are not just historical references, they serve a critical narrative purpose. They make the abstract concept of persecution tangible and horrifying, allowing a modern audience to empathize deeply with their plight. This scene is the emotional foundation upon which the entire story is built. It answers the question of why fight by showing that the Muslims were left with no other choice. They were facing a slow, agonizing extinction through torture, economic blockade, and social ostracization. The dialogue here is crucial. Umar's raw, frustrated question of "How long, messenger of God?" gives voice to the audience's own sense of outrage, while Yasir's quiet statement, "We have our faith, my love," establishes the central theme of spiritual resilience. The Prophet Muhammad's response is the key turning point in this scene. He doesn't dismiss their pain, but reframes it through the Quranic verse 2:114, giving their suffering a higher purpose and a divine context. This moment transforms their victimhood into a test of faith, a trial that all righteous people before them had to endure. The closing declaration, "Go forth then, whether light or heavy," is the first narrative seed of the impending conflict, moving the community from a state of passive endurance to one of active, divinely sanctioned self-defense. The sound design in this scene, the jeering crowds, the crashing rock, the whispered Quran, is not merely atmospheric, it is a narrative tool that sharpens the contrast between the external hatred and the internal growing strength of the believers. The narrative then transitions to the deserts near Medina, marking a significant shift in time and circumstance. The Muslims are no longer a huddled, persecuted minority, but have found a base and allies. This scene introduces the practical catalyst for the Battle of Badr, the intelligence regarding Abu Sufyan's caravan. The caravan is presented not just as a target of opportunity, but as a symbol of restorative justice. It represents the wealth of the very oppressors who had stolen the Muslims' homes and possessions, making its interception a morally justifiable act of reclaiming what was rightfully theirs for their survival in Medina. The introduction of the Ansar, the helpers from Medina, is a pivotal story point. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh's powerful speech is more than just a pledge of loyalty. It is the moment the script solidifies the unity of the Muslim community. His words, "If you were to ask us to plunge into the sea, we would plunge into it with you," demonstrate a level of faith and commitment that transcends tribal allegiance, forging a new, ideologically driven brotherhood. The Prophet Muhammad's promise of "God has promised me one of the two parties" serves as a crucial element of divine foreshadowing, planting the idea that the outcome is already known to him, which will later heighten the tension when the seemingly impossible odds are revealed. This scene builds a sense of purpose and cautious optimism, setting the Muslims on their path with a clear, achievable goal: to intercept a caravan. The following scenes shift perspective to the Quraysh, primarily through the character of Abu Sufyan, who is portrayed as shrewd, paranoid, and highly competent. His discovery of date stones in the camel dung is a masterstroke of cinematic storytelling. It's a small, visceral detail that conveys immense tension and intelligence. It shows that the Meccans are not fools, they are savvy and dangerous. Abu Sufyan's subsequent actions, diverting the caravan and sending Damdam to Mecca, are the triggers that escalate the situation from a skirmish over trade into a full-scale war. Damdam's dramatic, bloodied entrance into the Meccan council is designed to illustrate the volatile pride and tribalism of the Quraysh. The council scene itself serves to define the antagonist's motivation. Abu Jahl represents the voice of arrogant, vengeful pride, while Utbah ibn Rabi'a represents a more pragmatic, cautious approach. The fact that Abu Jahl's warmongering prevails is critical. It shows that the Quraysh are not going to war out of necessity, but out of a desire to crush a perceived insult to their honor and dominance. Their grand, well-equipped army of 1,000 men is a visual and narrative representation of worldly power, arrogance, and material superiority, which will stand in stark contrast to the humble, faith-based power of the Muslims. The moment the Muslim scouts deliver the news of the approaching Meccan army is the script's first major crisis point. The panic and raw fear that grips the small Muslim force is portrayed realistically. These are not born soldiers, they are immigrants and farmers facing a professional army. The script takes care to highlight their material lack, only 2 horses, shared camels, simple weapons, to make the odds feel insurmountable. The pivotal moment here is the consultation, specifically the response of the Ansar. The script builds suspense by reminding the audience that the Ansar's pledge was for defense within Medina. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh's second speech is therefore one of the most critical moments in the entire narrative. His reaffirmation of loyalty, even in the face of almost certain death, is the human decision that commits the Muslims to battle. It is the point of no return. This decision, born from faith and loyalty, directly counters the Meccans' decision, which was born from pride and arrogance. This contrast is a central theme of the entire story. The sound of the distant Meccan army, faintly heard on the wind, ends this section on a note of dreadful anticipation, perfectly setting the stage for the strategic and spiritual preparations to come. The second part of the script, focusing on battle strategy, delves deeply into the multifaceted preparation for the conflict. It first establishes Prophet Muhammad not only as a spiritual leader, but as a brilliant military tactician. His decision to secure the water wells is a stroke of genius that immediately negates a portion of the Meccans' advantage. By controlling the water, he forces the enemy to fight thirsty and fatigued, or to waste energy and lives trying to capture the wells. His choice of battlefield is equally strategic. Positioning his men with the soft sand dunes at their back was a masterful defensive move. It rendered the Meccan cavalry, their most potent weapon, almost useless. A charge uphill through soft sand would be slow and disorganized, breaking their formation and making them easy targets. This careful positioning shows that the Muslims' victory was not merely a supernatural event, it was also earned through intelligent planning and the wise use of the terrain, demonstrating that faith and practical reason go hand in hand in Islam. However, the script makes it clear that military strategy alone is not enough. The most powerful scene in this section, and perhaps in the entire script, is the Prophet's late-night supplication, dua. This scene is the spiritual heart of the film. His prayer is not a calm, confident recitation. It is raw, emotional, and desperate. He trembles, his voice cracks, and he pleads with God in a display of utter humility and dependence. This humanizes him profoundly, showing that even the prophet, assured of God's promise, still felt the immense weight of responsibility for his followers' lives. His fear that if this small band perishes, there will be none left to worship you, underscores the world-historic stakes of the battle. Abu Bakr's role here is that of the comforting, steadfast friend, his gentle intervention highlighting the intensity of the prophet's spiritual state. The immediate answer to this prayer, the blessed rain, is the first tangible miracle. It is a dual-purpose event.
For the Muslims on high ground, it settles the dust, giving them firm footing, while for the Meccans in the lowland, it turns the ground into a muddy quagmire, adding to their distress. This symbolizes divine intervention already steadily tilting the scales. The Prophet's vision of the angels, which Abu Bakr cannot see, is a moment of pure cinematic faith, meant to be felt by the audience through the Prophet's unwavering conviction rather than through a special effects spectacle. The sequence of the single combats, Mubaraza, is a classic dramatic device that serves multiple narrative functions. First, it provides a moment of focused, personal drama before the chaos of the main battle. Second, it is a microcosm of the larger conflict. Faith and divine truth pitted against worldly prestige and lineage. The victory of Hamza, Ali, and Ubaidah over the Meccan champions is a massive psychological blow to the Quraysh. The Quraysh